Sri Lanka, Recovery of Stolen Public Assets. Video Series, Video number 19. This is an educational video to inform the general public about the importance of recovering stolen public assets. Government skill, know-how, and public support are essential for its success. I am Dr. Shanti Mendis. The video will provide information on the importance, implications, and obstacles to recovery of stolen public assets, the role of developed countries, the UN Convention Against Corruption, the Stolen Assets Recovery Initiative, and stolen asset recovery in other countries. The new government, led by President Anurakkumara Desanayake, has expressed political commitment to recover stolen assets. Addressing corruption and fraud is a main campaign theme of the ruling party. Postponing the process of asset recovery will take a toll on the credibility of the government. If the process is commenced now, some results can be expected by the end of 5 years at least. The President and the Cabinet are not corrupt and have credibility to provide leadership to the process. Staggering amounts of public assets have been stolen by corrupt leaders. What are the implications? The degradation of public institutions, especially those involved in governance of the financial sector, the weakening of the private investment climate, and the corruption of social service delivery mechanisms, such as health and education programs. Developed countries have played an indirect role in the theft of public assets. Stolen assets are often hidden in the financial centers of developed countries. Bribes to public officials often originate from multinational corporations. The intermediary services used to hide proceeds of asset theft, provided by lawyers and accountants, are often located in developed country financial centers. How are the public assets stolen? There are 3 stages. Placement. Illicit funds in this stage are placed in domestic or international financial institutions using simple wire transactions or complex mechanisms that rely on shell companies, banks, undisclosed trusts, or hedge funds. Next step is layering. Layers of financial transactions are made to hide the source, ownership, and movement of assets to lower the chances of detection. Then there is integration. Schemes place some of the laundered proceeds during this stage back into the legitimate economy in Sri Lanka in such a way that they appear to be normal business funds. Often, advisors from financial centers of developed countries assist this process. Sri Lanka must recover stolen assets. Recovery of even a portion of recovered assets could provide much needed funding for development. The total benefit would far exceed that associated with the asset restitution itself. It conveys the important message that there is no safe haven for stolen assets and embodies a powerful deterrent effect. What is the Stolen Asset Recovery Initiative? It is a partnership between the World Bank and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. STAR works with developing countries to prevent the laundering of the proceeds of corruption and to facilitate more systematic and timely return of stolen assets. What is the international legal framework underpinning STAR? The legal framework is provided by the UN Convention Against Corruption, the first global anti-corruption agreement of 2005. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime is both the custodian and the lead agency supporting the implementation of this convention. UN Convention Against Corruption was ratified by Sri Lanka, and because Sri Lanka is a party to the convention, it can benefit from key provisions that facilitate the return of stolen assets. In 2015, Sri Lanka Constitution was amended to establish the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. This commission is responsible for implementing the UN Convention Against Corruption, giving the treaty constitutional recognition. However, it is important to recognize that Sri Lanka's legal framework for asset recovery is inadequate, and asset recovery is hampered by the lack of a comprehensive legislative framework on asset recovery. This needs to be corrected without further delay. How could STAR help? STAR offers technical assistance to help countries develop and implement effective asset recovery strategies. It is a trusted broker. It provides databases and other toolkits, offers input on legislative frameworks and policy discussions. Most importantly, provides training to build the skills necessary for tracing and recovery of stolen assets. Training of those responsible for this initiative in Sri Lanka will be critical for its success. STAR was established in 2007 and since then has assisted over 40 countries. STAR works closely with international standard-setting agencies to promote the cause of anti-corruption and asset recovery, including the Conference of States Parties to the UN Convention Against Corruption, the G7, the G20 and the Financial Action Task Force, the OECD and other networks, as well the International Bar Association and relevant civil society organizations such as the Transparency International. Is Sri Lanka likely to encounter barriers in recovering stolen assets? Limited legal, investigative and judicial capacity of those involved and inadequate financial resources could hamper the process. This has to be recognized and rectified. Jurisdictions where stolen assets are hidden, often developed countries, may not be responsive to requests for legal assistance. Success depends upon forging strong partnerships with developed and developing countries. In this regard, President Anurakumara Dissanayake must ensure that trustworthy and credible ambassadors are appointed to our embassies. Collaboration with bilateral and multilateral agencies with an interest in asset recovery would be quite useful. Theft of public assets is facilitated by a lack of transparency and public accountability. The new government needs to strengthen legal, financial and public financial management systems to recover stolen assets. It is important to take steps to strengthen transparency and public accountability to prevent the theft of public assets in the future. So, what are the key actions for recovery of stolen public assets? First, sustained political will, and using the correct mechanism. Government needs to go beyond the rhetorical desire and activate the Stolen Asset Recovery Presidential Task Force, which is the important mechanism which will take the process forward. Legal framework. A legal framework needs to be established, and this comprehensive legislative framework on asset recovery should be in line with the UN Convention on Anti-Corruption obligations. Institutional support is important. Expanding the mandate of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, and its mandate needs to include all matters related to asset recovery. And a transparent process needs to be adopted. Government needs to ensure that a degree of information relating to asset recovery processes is made available to the public and relevant civil society organizations. President Andrakumara Dissanayaka has already started the digital transformation of Sri Lanka. This is essential for strengthening transparency and accountability and for addressing corruption. The Presidential Task Force on Stolen Asset Recovery has a critical role to play. A clear strategy and an action plan need to be developed. The establishment of a comprehensive legislative framework on asset recovery in line with the obligations of the UN Convention Against Corruption is essential for success. Thank you for listening.